All right, today we're going to talk about 7 underrated marketing channels because we want to give you an opportunity to expand beyond Facebook, Google, Amazon, and all these other big channels. So, look, there's a lot of opportunities out there. Just depends on who you're looking for. I think from a B2B perspective, it seems fairly obvious, but it's still really underrated. Keep in mind, when I mentioned LinkedIn as an underrated marketing channel, you have to understand that Microsoft owns them. And when you have one of the biggest companies in the world backing you, they're constantly making the ad platform better. And even though the cost might be high, maybe you might be saying, hey, the cost per click is super high, but you want to look at your down funnel metrics. Is your cost per acquisition actually a lot better than the other channels? Are you a lot more cost efficient that way? LinkedIn, I think, very strong from an organic standpoint, but also from a paid standpoint as well. And I was talking to a friend the other week, and he just draws pictures on his iPad. I'm oversimplifying this right now, but he'll get 500 or 1,000 people liking it and commenting on it, and just gets a lot of free reach that way. And he gets a lot of leads just doing LinkedIn.
Yeah. Another underrated marketing channel that I love is Twitter. You can't get the volume that you're looking for, but you can get access to really influential people and successful people from a monetary standpoint that have quite a bit of power. And it's one of the best networks for that. I haven't been able to replicate that from LinkedIn or any other social network, but Twitter has amazing people that you can end up connecting with through advertising. The one thing to note with Twitter, though, is Twitter Twitter just will never scale the way you're going to want to scale. So just keep that in mind, and you just have to be okay with that.
Yeah. And number three, from my point of view, and by the way, I love Twitter. I've probably connected with probably the most powerful people. If I'm looking at it from a volume perspective, it is actually through Twitter, to Neil's point. And Twitter actually just came out with a new guide today, as of this recording, with a breakdown of all their different ad formats, because it's actually fairly confusing to use. Anyway, hopefully that makes it easier for people. So number three from my side is direct mail. So what's old is now new again. And with the advent of services like audience.co, which allows you to which has robots writing handwritten messages, people like that direct touch, right? Like when you actually touch something versus just seeing something, it's a different type of experience. So I think direct mail is making a comeback. And especially if you're looking to target an older demographic, direct mail it makes a lot of sense.
Number four, Snapchat. If Instagram ads work for you, Snapchat ads should just work just as well, and your costs will be much lower. It works extremely well for e-commerce or anything lead gen that's B2C.
Yeah, number five would be podcast advertising. So you're listening to a podcast right now. Still, I think there's under 2 million podcasts in the world, and I think someone uncovered this. Maybe 25 or 30%, maybe more, of the podcasts in the Apple podcast section don't have more than one episode, which is crazy. And so I think it's still very much a blue ocean right now. Audios continue to get stronger and stronger. And so I actually talked to a guy named Jordan Harbinger, and he's spending a lot of money on podcast ads right now to grow his podcast. And you see some of the biggest brands out there spending money it's a branding play at the end of the day. Don't expect too much direct response type of the numbers you're seeing with like Facebook or Google as an example. But if you want a brand, I think podcasting is just super strong. You're muted.
Last but not least, Pinterest ads. So if you haven't checked out Pinterest in a long time, you should check them out. Not too many people talk about them anymore because they're publicly traded. Funny enough, when they're private, everyone's like, Pinterest is blowing up. It's still blowing up. It's still growing. They released their version of quote unquote Instagram Reels where you can pin together 20 stories and stuff like that. You should check it out. But it's a great place to advertise. And I've also got sales from them from B2B and B2C, right? So not just B2C, but also B2B has done extremely well for me on Pinterest.
All right, number seven, the last one would be text. Trying to drive your community to you can use community.com, or there's a lot of other text platforms you can use. We actually use Community. Understanding that open rates are still fairly high when it comes to text, probably 90+% right now. It's just a good way to connect with people and to rally people, especially if you're using something like community.com. If you're in a certain area, let's say Neil and I were in Vegas or we're in LA, we can geo-target a certain area and say, hey guys, we're doing a meetup right now. So I think having that personal touch point is powerful. Whether it's you're collecting a list of it's to me, it's like another email list, being able to broadcast to people and get them to take an action. So that is it, everyone. Go to marketingschool.io/live, because that's LIVE, because Neil and I, we're bringing back the live events in September, and we have a lot of applications already to sort through. Excited to actually get to see people in person again. So marketingschool.io/live, and we will see you tomorrow.